Godfred Adom-Otchere, former Attorney General, Justice Yoni Kulendi, Supreme Court Judge, and Richard Jakpa, currently the Director of Operations at the National Security Council. Richard Jakpa has led many of the operations that has excited the NDC base, going to people's homes, arresting them, etc., etc. Now, Richard Jakpa has sent a petition to the CID, asking the commissioner in charge of the CID to look at what he calls Godfred Dame's purported interference in that two-forcing case. What was the purported interference? Purported interference was that the meeting was convened for the two gentlemen by the Supreme Court's very distinguished Supreme Court Judge, Justice Yoni Kulendi, in his home to try and resolve matters between the parties. Apparently, Mr. Dame responded to this because of course, everyone respects Justice Kulendi. And so he responded because of Justice Kulendi's stature and personal relationship with him. Now, though, Richard Jakpa is asking the CID to do more than the High Court did. The High Court looked at the matter and gave a ruling on it. I'm sure we'll give you that as well. But the big story is that whilst Jakpa has sent that petition, another person, Mr. Daniel Ofori-Atta, says that no, whilst Richard Jakpa has sent the petition, he believes that the CID should actually be looking at the conduct of Mr. Jakpa and the Supreme Court judge. Now, here is the petition sent by Daniel Mafo Ofori-Atta. They call him DM Ofori-Atta. It is written to the Director General Criminal Investigations Department in Accra. It says, "Dear Madam, request to investigate His Lordship Justice Yoni Kulendi and Richard Jakpa for conspiring to interfere with the administration of justice. It is as follows. I hope this reaches you in good spirits," he says. "I am a citizen of the Republic of Ghana with keen interest in the development of the rule of law, good governance, and democracy. In January 2023, the Republic of Ghana commenced a prosecution of accused persons in a case bearing the title Republic versus Kesela Tuforsen and two others. Richard Jakpa, the current Director of Operations at the National Security Council, who was dishonorably released from the Ghana Armed Forces in November 2007 for unsatisfactory conduct and failure to pass his examinations, was a third accused. The said Richard Jakpa, as Daniel writes, as subsequently became obvious from the proceedings, is the cousin of Justice Yoni Kulendi, a Supreme Court judge." It goes on. In the course of the trial, it was revealed that right from the first day the accused persons were arraigned before the court, 18 January 2023, Richard Jakpa deployed the highly influential Justice of the Supreme Court, Yoni Kulendi, to obstruct the course of justice in the case with the ultimate object of ensuring that the prosecution of Richard Jakpa was either abated by the then Attorney General Godfred Adom-Otchere or he, Jakpa, was acquitted. The acts of Justice Kulendi and Richard Jakpa border on the commission of crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings. The following facts, evidence of which I will produce, bear this out. 1. From the proceedings of the trial, on the 18th of January 2022, after Richard Jakpa had been arraigned in court, he solicited the help of his cousin, Justice Yoni Kulendi, to procure the assistance of the then Attorney General to facilitate the release of Richard Jakpa when he had not satisfied the conditions of the bail granted to him. Justice Kulendi actually went to the office of the former Attorney General Godfred Dame to request that his cousin be permitted to go home. At the trial, under cross-examination by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Richard Jakpa confessed to obtaining the telephone number of Attorney General Godfred Adom-Otchere from Justice Yoni Kulendi, after which he confidently attempted to meet with Mr. Dame and inundated him with many WhatsApp messages. All these were tendered in evidence at the trial on the 18th of June 2024. It is on record that Mr. Dame refused Richard Jakpa's invitation to meet with him. The evidence shows that from the time Richard Jakpa first got in touch with the Attorney General Godfred Dame via WhatsApp, he sent in all 68, 68 WhatsApp messages to him, in reply to which the then Attorney General sent only 2. 68. But what was the content of those 68 messages? That's a lot of messages to send to an Attorney General. 68. Really? Is there anyone that you have sent 68 messages to? I can't think of anyone that I have sent 68 messages to, unless you're looking at over a year or 2 years or something like that. 68. 111 up to 68. Wow. Okay. Well, Mr. Daniel Ofori-Atta will prove this when he's called. He sent 68 WhatsApp messages to him, in reply to which the then Attorney General sent only 2. Richard Jakpa confirmed this under cross-examination by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mrs. Yvonne Atakra Obu-Bisa. Really? Okay. Furthermore, it is undisputable that when Mr. Dame turned down Richard Jakpa's overtures to meet him, Justice Yoni Kulendi, in breach of the code regulating his work as a superior court judge, lured the then Attorney General into meetings at his, Justice Kulendi's residence, on no less than 4 occasions. Justice Kulendi will then secretly invite Richard Jakpa to come over to his house and interfere in the legal proceedings pending against Jakpa by impressing upon Mr. Dame to stop the prosecution of the former or ensure that the prosecution will let him go free at the submission of no case stage of the trial. This is borne out by the record of proceedings at the trial. Indeed, the record showed that apart from inside the courtroom and the house of Justice Kulendi, Mr. Dame never met Mr. Richard Jakpa anywhere. The above, madam, shows a calculated effort by the learned Justice of the Supreme Court, Mr. Justice Yoni Kulendi, together with his cousin Richard Jakpa, to interfere in the prosecution of the criminal case filed against Richard Jakpa by the Republic of Ghana. This is not only dishonorable, but also borders on the commission of crimes in accordance with the Criminal Code and Offences Act 1960, Act 29. His request, according to Mr. Daniel Ofori, to the CID is as follows. He says, I respectfully request you to conduct an investigation into the conduct of Justice Yoni Kulendi and his cousin Richard Jakpa, to unravel all acts of criminality disclosed by their conduct and take such prosecutorial action as is consistent with the law. I am available and willing to assist you with any documents, including relevant exhibits and the record of proceedings in the Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others, which you cannot access. In the meantime, attached to this petition are 1. Copies of the WhatsApp communication between Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General Godfred Adom-Otchere. 2. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 6 June 2024. 3. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 18 June 2024. 4. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 20th June 2024. 5. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case of the Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 27 June 2024. 6. Hope the matters raised herein will be thoroughly investigated in accordance with due process. Yours faithfully, signed, Daniel Mafo Ofori-Atta. So this matter is not going away anytime soon. I was on the same touch screen here last year in the heat of elections that we had to analyze the Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General matter. As you may know, the matter started at the High Court in the prosecution of causing financial loss to the states in the case of the ambulance. Case Lato Forsen was being questioned about an LC that he had approved and a contract he had approved without the approval of Parliament, or that Parliament had approved the contract in a certain way and he was executing it in another way. This is what he was accused of. The trial went on quite acrimonious, a lot of conversations here and there. Good Evening Ghana got involved, who were lambasted, attacked, all kinds of things. My friend Samuel Jemfi, at that time, he was the communications director of the National Democratic Congress, held press conferences after the court trial. It was a big deal. There were many interested parties, business interests, political interests, judicial interests. It was a really big trial. At the end of the case of the prosecution, the case Lato Forsen and all the others made a submission of no case. Those who understand criminal procedure understand it. There's not much time for me to go into it, but they made a submission of no case, that the prosecution had refused to make a case against them, that they had not been able to make a case against them. This is what they said. And then the High Court ruled that they had a case to answer, so case Lato Forsen had opened his defense. But then he had filed an appeal against that interlocutory ruling by the High Court that there was a case to answer. So the Court of Appeal heard the matter and decided by a 2-1 majority that in fact the prosecution had not made a case and that there was no case to answer. Godfred immediately responded and said that he was going to file an appeal at the Supreme Court challenging the conclusion of the Court of Appeal on that interlocutory matter. Before he could do that, 7th December occurred. John Dramani Mahama was elected president. Mr. Dominic Ayeni became the Attorney General and he discontinued the Supreme Court action. So we thought the matter was dead and gone. But here we are. Richard Jakpa raises the matter again, writes to the CID and says, I am not satisfied. Godfred Dame should be prosecuted because he was trying to interfere in the case. When I called him, he said, Okay, So Daniel Ofori-Atta says, Godfred should be prosecuted. Richard Jakpa, are you sure about that? Then maybe you should be prosecuted. You were sending him WhatsApp messages. What are in the 68 WhatsApp messages? I don't know.